Good afternoon. It is Friday, 1 o'clock, November 19th, 2021, and this is a meeting of the Acushnet Board of Selectmen. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Let's see, do I have a motion to open the meeting?
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Alright, first, I guess I still have to open this because we have a continuation of the classification hearing from November 9th, 2021. So do I need a motion to open that? Is that good?
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I guess, any comments and then I close it?
Yep.
Okay.
Just looking at some of the numbers on the revenue side with Ms. Hebert, I think we talked to the public about the tax classification and where we're going with the tax shift, and I think a lot has to do with how much money every year the town spends. And I don't think that's brought up enough. So, I think the less we spend, the lower the tax rate would go. And that would go a long way for our residents, especially our senior citizens. So I think that's a concern moving forward. We've done a good job over the last several years. We've put in a lot of money into our stabilization account, and then we created an infrastructure stabilization account. Is that correct, Ms. Hebert?
Yes.
So we've done roughly 2 million in the last 3 years.
Into the regular stabilization?
1.5 roughly in regular stabilization, plus the
Yeah.
$500,000 for the
Yes, that's exactly right.
for the infrastructure. So, there's a lot of extra money floating around out there, so I think it's something that we need to keep an eye on and work on that with the FinCom. Maybe we can do something about that in the upcoming year. Trying to keep the punch bowl away, and not spending on things that we don't necessarily need to spend on. And if there's that extra money, we could definitely discuss that. Do the Board of Selectmen have the authority not to increase the 2.5 without leaving it on the table for future generations to spend?
Yes.
So if the Board of Selectmen didn't want to raise the 2.5%, that would be what, equivalent to what, like 30-something thousand bucks year over year? Or do you just do the full amount?
The 2.5% is
The 480?
Yeah.
Yeah, 480.
Mm-hmm. That would be during your budget season, though. That wouldn't be part of this hearing, the 2.5% increase. That's your proposition 2.5. I mean, it's definitely something that you want to look at and be wary of doing, because if you don't use the full 2.5%, you limit yourself in the future. So it's definitely something that you want to carefully consider.
Mm-hmm. But if you don't do it, you're not leaving it on the table for the next year or the year after for somebody else, a different board, to come in and then make that money back up, so it's a double whammy, because that's how it was described to us several years back.
Yeah, so every year your new levy is based on your old levy plus your 2.5% if you do it, plus your new growth. So if you don't, if you leave that on the table for this year and you don't do a 2.5%, your levy only goes up, less that money, so say less 480,000, and that's where your starting point is the year after.
Mm-hmm. But it could never be made back up. That's the question. Like some future
Well, with
board
an override.
would an override, but
Yeah.
the likelihood of that happening. So you do have the authority not to increase,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not left on the table for future generations to be able to come back and grab it.
You're cutting your levy limit that you can have for that year,
Okay.
for the future.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Okay.
gentlemen, I've looked at some values on some commercial properties. Unfortunately, I just got that information yesterday. I did start running some numbers to see what the assessed values of commercial properties, and that's what we talked about here when you look at your sheets, that residential's values went up 9%, meanwhile commercial's gone up only 3%. The prior year before that, it went down 2%, so theoretically, there could be a case made for a higher shift to the business, but I think with residential values are gonna go up in the upcoming year, maybe we ought to save that dry powder for that conversation next year. I would make a recommendation to stay with the status quo, 125.
Mr. Warner?
I agree.
Well, I believe we still offer one of the lowest, I know the assessors, let me just rephrase it, the assessors recommended 5% shift, but I still believe we offer one of the lowest business splits in the area, so I'm in
Correct.
agreement that 125 is fine. So I believe with the rules, I gotta close this public hearing and then we vote?
You should vote and then close the
Okay,
public hearing.
there we go.
Make a motion to leave the tax CIP at 125.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, I'd just ask one thing.
Mhm.
If we can put it on our calendars as an event reminder, that rather than like looking at this in November-ish, we kind of feel like we're squeezed, maybe start really studying this after July 1, after the new fiscal year, to try to really get a handle and have an in-depth conversation about it, so it's not just like a compressed time frame. We feel like, all right, we have all the information.
Right.
Like really start the process much earlier, at least from the board's perspective. You know, what the assessors will do what they want to do, but you know, we can just kind of remind ourselves
Mhm.
to get the process started earlier.
Very good comment, thank you.
Motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, next on the old business, gentlemen, we have a couple of, we've been asked to have a joint meeting with the FinCom committee. They've given us 3 dates, December 1st, December 8th, December 15th. I believe they have their meetings at the police department at 7 PM. So, is
What's the
there,
date?
we could pick either December 1st, December 8th, or December 15th.
December
which
8th.
I believe is a Wednesday, is correct?
Yep.
Okay.
December 8th sounds pretty good. We have a meeting on the 30th, is that correct? November 30th, so back to back, not too good.
Okay,
Yeah, that's
that works. Okay, very good. So I have a motion to make a meeting with the FinCom committee
December 8th.
December 8th, 7 PM at the police department, or you can also zoom in if you're out of,
Police department works. Nice big
Alright.
conference room there.
That's a Wednesday, right?
that's correct, Wednesday, December 8th, 7 PM. I have a motion on the table.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Also under old business, been requested to have a meeting with the planning board, and I know they had a meeting last night, and this is to fill the vacant seat that they have on the board. The rules are that we all have to have a joint meeting and have a vote on it, and then that person would occupy that seat until the next town election, which I believe is mid-May this year, or next year in 2022. So they've put forth December 16th at 6:30. Once again, this we can zoom in. We don't have to attend in person at the Parting Ways building. So,
Can't just do it at a selectmen's meeting, or no, too early for them?
too early, one of the members works in Attleboro, I believe, or works out of town, let me just say that, and cannot attend until 6:30.
The FinCom meeting's at 7:30?
7 o'clock. And this would be a Thursday, December 16th at 6:30.
Should be all 5 minutes, right?
All 5 minutes. Open the meeting and take the vote, and then close the meeting. And that's it. That worked. Can I have a motion to
What
accept
date?
that? December 16th at 6:30.
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
It's at 6:30?
6:30. Parting Ways or Zoom? All right, gentlemen, under new business, we have PJ Keating air monitor discussion. As you know, in the past couple of weeks ago, down at the Council on Aging, there was a public meeting for the residents of that, I guess we call it Precinct 1 area of Acushnet, to talk about PJ Keating and the situation that exists there. At that meeting, I found out, and the people were informed, that we applied for a grant back in July or August, and we did not receive that grant. And with that grant money, we would have put up some air monitors in the neighborhood. So, putting this out here, that I found out that it's $6,500 if we rent 3 monitors for 2 months and put them in different parts of the neighborhood to be determined, and also have them calibrated by a third party. And this way we can check compliance, establish a baseline, if you want to call it that, for the air quality in the area of the quarry and asphalt plant.
It's for 2 months or 1 month, 3 monitors?
3 monitors for 2 months. $6,500, and I'd probably ask for another grand more or so, because I think to keep it on the up and up, in the sense, I don't know if that's a good phrase, but to keep it level and make sure it's in compliance, we have a third-party engineer, calibrate the systems. There's no question about anything on that end. And,
The machines, I could have sworn that the conversation I had with Mr. Hanning, the machines that come calibrated, that's why we rent them, because they have to be calibrated. So what's the extra 1,000?
well, if they need to be calibrated, if they need to be set up by a third party.
Okay,
I'm just
setup
trying to
charge.
throw that,
Yeah, maybe
in
a setup
there,
charge, that might make sense. Yeah. So
And,
$7,500.
You're
You're gonna go 2 months in the wintertime? Because we're gonna have to do this again, right?
That is correct, but it does establish a baseline, which after talking with council isn't necessarily a bad thing,
Okay.
to have a baseline on it, and then when they're, in the future, we can compare and contrast, if you'd like to call it that. And this money is gonna come from, Julie, there was an article passed, maybe I think it was the year before I was on the board.
Yes, in 2018, Article 24 was $50,000. It's now down to $35,000 for the purpose of a site plan review, compliance monitoring, legal representation, and/or professional consulting services to aid the town departments in addressing the building, soil permits, etc. of a business permit application. So, compliance monitoring is one of the items listed.
So we got the money.
Fine by me.
Okay, so do I have a motion to proceed with this?
So moved.
$7,500 for air monitor rental. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, gentlemen. Town administrators report?
I'm good.
Selectmen announcements?
Just want to say happy Thanksgiving to everybody out there in the public. Have a happy, safe Thanksgiving weekend.
Very good. Information only, the following boards and commissions have vacancies. Please consider serving your community by submitting a letter of interest to the Board of Selectmen. The Agricultural Commission has 2 alternate vacancies. The Beautification Committee has 7 vacancies. The Community Preservation Committee, Housing Authority, 1 vacancy, 1 residential vacancy. Cultural Council, 13 vacancies, and the Open Space Committee has 1 vacancy. I'd just like to also point out that if there are any other interest in the town moderator position, I know we haven't received the final determination yet
Right.
on where we stand with the applicant that is being considered. So, we have the new town meeting coming up in May.
What's town council said about the charter, Julie? Did we get
I haven't gotten a
anything
response.
feedback? Because the town charter dictates that policy, right? So,
Mhm.
I mean, I would think, when that charter, when that was written, it just seems to be pretty antiquated and not very practical,
Mhm.
You got somebody who wants to serve, and, I don't know, I think we should figure out how to modify, maybe that needs to be
Okay.
modified or something along those
We'd have to
lines.
do a charter change, right?
'Cause it was a bylaw, right, Julie?
For charter.
Yeah, it's
No,
part of the
no.
charter.
Charter.
What's supersede, right, it's the zoning board of appeals is what the hang-up is, right?
Mhm.
Correct. Correct.
Because ZBA and the moderator really don't have
No,
zone
any
access to, you know?
Mm-hmm. I agree. Well, then we'll wait, we'll see what the
I'll
town
follow
council
up
comes
again.
back with, and
Mhm.
we'll continue in the future. Speaking of the future, we have future business, Selectmen's meeting Tuesday, November 30th, 2021 at 4 PM. And gentlemen, we are going to adjourn to executive session on the general law, chapter 30A, subsection 21A-2, to conduct strategy sessions in preparation for negotiations with non-union personnel or to conduct contract negotiations with non-union personnel if an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the position of the public body and the chair so declares, and the board will not return to public session. Review of matters presented, votes may be taken. Roll call vote, Mr. Warner,
Yes.
Mr. Gaspar,
Yes.
and Mr. DeRoche is a yes. Have a happy Thanksgiving, everyone. We will not return to public session.